Merry meet, my fellow bookish witches. Welcome to Witchy Reads, a place where we talk about books and other bookish things. I have officially reached the last book tag that I was tagged in 2024. This one is called Counting the Days book tag. I was tagged by Beatrice at Beatrice's Book Nook. I'll go ahead and leave a link to her channel down in the description below, as well as a link to the video that she did for this book tag. I'm actually really glad that I'm ending my book tag binge videos, as it were, with this one because it's all about getting excited about the books we read. What is a book that excites you because of its cover? This is such a hard question for me to answer because 98% of the time, the first step in my getting excited about any book is if it has a kick-ass cover. There are just so many varieties in the covers that pull me in. But I think I have two on my shelf that will give a good idea of what I generally am attracted to as far as book covers. Both of these books are on my physical TBR. First is The Adventures of Aminia Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I think this cover does an excellent job of telling the reader exactly what to expect within these pages. A high seas adventure with some danger. Already, I feel immersed into the book just by this cover alone. The cover art might seem a little busy. It's not overwhelming or too much, at least not in my opinion. I actually think the chaotic nature of the artwork enhances what the book is promising to deliver. I'll definitely have to get to this one sometime soon. The other one is Hester by Lori Lico Albanese. This book cover may seem like a simple floral picture, but if you look closely, you can see that the flowers are meant to be an embroidery design. To add to that effect, the flowers and leaves are all raised off of the cover to feel like it is embroidery. I think this is a subtle yet brilliant way to set this book apart. Without that effect, this cover, albeit still beautiful, would be considered basic. I also love it because it reminds me of those really old book covers that would have like a window to reveal a second cover just underneath. A lot of VC Andrews paperbacks used to do that, and I loved it. I am all for bringing those back. I guess what gets me excited about book covers is if you are able to convey the basic tone of the story, or if you can, pull off a subtle, unique difference to other book covers. What is a book that excites you because of its author? For this one, I am going to answer with a series. It's one that I keep meaning to get to and finish, and it's mostly because of this author, V.E. Schwab, the Darker Shade of Magic series. I didn't grab them off my shelf. That is the Darker Shade of Magic series right there on my bookshelf. I recently reread the first book of the series because I do want to actually finish it, and I needed a refresher because it had been so long since I'd read the first book. I love her writing, particularly her characters. They each have their own personalities, motivations, story arcs, not to mention the character relationships with each other. Perfection. Once I finally finish that series, I would love to read more books from her. And in fact, I have other books by her on my shelf that I need to get to once I finish that gosh darn series. My not finishing it isn't because I'm not excited about it. I've just gotten waylaid with other stuff that I need to read as well. What is a book that excites you because of its premise? I think I'm going to answer this one with my most recent read. It was definitely the premise more than anything else that drew me in. Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. Outside of reading, my other loved hobby is board games and campaigns. So when I found a book that basically gave me the best of both, I couldn't resist. This is also probably the first book in a long while where I'm not super invested in the characters alone, but more so about what is going on within the world that has been created. I love the hijinks and the mystery. This book gave me everything that I wanted from Ready Player One and didn't get. What is a book that excites you because of its style? This one is kind of a no-brainer for me. House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielinski. I am so angry that I do not have a physical copy of this book to show you. Unfortunately, This was a book that I allowed someone to borrow years ago and they never returned it. I just haven't been able to replace it. I plan to do that eventually. It is a heartbreaking thing for me to know that I let someone who I thought I could trust borrow this book and they just never gave it back. The formatting and writing style does a lot of the heavy lifting within this book in order to create that atmosphere of unease. I don't remember a whole lot of the details of the story, but I will always remember how I felt while reading it. It just had that style, that gravitas. To this day, it is probably the most unique reading experience I've ever had. I fully place that on the style of the book. If you are into weird books that make your skin crawl, highly recommend this one, with an emphasis on if you are going to read it to get the full experience, you must read a physical copy. What is a book that excites you because of its influence? I'm going to be completely honest here. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I'm not expecting great literary work here, but I do think they are fun reads, and I like being able to understand bookish references about the series. Even though I haven't completed reading the series, I know enough now where I have started to get those pop culture references. It truly seems to be part of the zeitgeist now. That's exciting. It reminds me of when I was younger and was more prevalent in bookish fandoms. It might seem weird to get nostalgia-like feelings from a series I haven't even completed, but that's how it makes me feel, which is why I plan on continuing the series. What is a book that excites you because of its emotional weight? The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky is one of those books that will always feel profound to me. It is an amazingly emotional story that I think I read at the most perfect time in my life. I read it the first time as a freshman in high school, and since then I have reread it a few more times. It is a book I will always recommend at any stage of life, but absolutely it just hits differently if you are a teenager. If you are a teenager, if you know a teenager, highly recommend this book. I feel like it could be such a life-changing experience. It is emotional, and that is part of why I think it is so profound. What is a book that excites you because of its sense of humor? For this one, I'm gonna have to go with another series. The Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. I've only read 2 so far. They were some of the most hilarious books I've read. I can't wait to actually dedicate the time to read the entire series. Although, with how many books are in that series, it will be a very large undertaking that will take some time. So I don't think this will be a thing that happens anytime soon, but it is the plan at some point. I am excited to read more books that make me audibly laugh. What is a book that excites you because of its challenge or level of difficulty? For this one, I would have to say it's The Mayor of Maxwell Street by Avery Cunningham. This was a book of the month selection that I picked for the premise. Then when it arrived, I was surprised by its girth. This is a thick girl. I'm usually not a big book girly. This book just sounded so fascinating. It isn't a book I would usually pick up to read, mainly because it is an historical fiction. It's a part of history that I don't know a lot about. For those reasons, it will be a bit of a challenge to not only choose to read it at some point, but to also finish it in one go. For reference, I usually try to stick with books that are under 400 pages or around the 400 page mark. This is coming in at about 500 pages. I am determined to read it though. It will happen, even though right now it feels like Everest to me. What is a book that excites you? I feel like this is such like a general question in regards to everything else I've just talked about. If you've been watching any of my videos on my channel for a bit, this book might not come as a surprise. The Isle of Gods by Amy Kaufman. The reading experience I had with that book was something I haven't had in such a long time. Because of that, I am so excited to pick up the second book in the series, The Heart of the World. I cannot wait to read that. It'll probably be my next read after I finish my current read that I'm doing right now. Truly, had the second book been available after I had finished the first, it would have been an immediate jumping into it. As it wasn't published yet. I think it was a couple months out. So because of that gap in time, other books managed to get their claws in on me. It is a definite that's going to happen. If not in the next couple weeks, definitely in 2025. Since this is the last book tag, for now at least, I think I'm just going to send it off into the universe and say, if you see it and feel moved to create your own responses to these questions, please feel free to do so. I genuinely think this is a wholesome tag that is meant to make you feel good about loving your books. Who wouldn't want to feel that? I also think doing this book tag would be very helpful for anyone who happens to be in a reading slump. Thank you, Beatrice, for tagging me. I am so sorry that it's so late, but I hope this response makes up for it. This was a great tag. It got me thinking about what books light that fire for me, why I might return to certain genres or authors. It also semi-confirmed for me that my most read genre at this point is just fiction. I seem to be excited by various subgenres within that genre. Love that for me. If you enjoy my videos and would like to support my channel, the best way to do that right now is to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click that notification bell to get notified for my other videos. It really is a big help, and I greatly appreciate it. Until our next chapter together, merry part and blessed be.